Hi everybody, welcome back to Seedlings, the beginner's guide to literally everything homegrown. Today we talk about the top 5 reasons why your bell peppers might be small. Just yesterday I harvested these bell peppers and they are incredibly small. They almost look like baby bell peppers if there was even such a thing. Alright, and this is my bell pepper plants right here, and it's covered by these evergreens all around it. Alright, so I'm going to look back retrospectively as to what went wrong with this bell pepper. What went wrong in growing these peppers, really. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed that did go kind of wrong is that it was crowded. Of course, it is a very heavy feeder, bell pepper, and you don't want to crowd it with a lot of other plants. So looking back, I see that this may have been not the best decisions to have made, to crowd it so much and restrict the amount of nutrients it can get for itself. Of course, these evergreens aren't as heavy feeders as the bell pepper, but they are consuming resources that should be allocated or should be just reserved for your pepper plant. Second thing I didn't do was that bell peppers are, from the previous points, heavy feeders, natural soil, the bottle, the liquid fertilizer, but I wasn't fertilizing it often. And liquid fertilizer does dissolve pretty quickly, which means it eats, but it probably lasts for just a week at max. So for the other weeks that it wasn't feeding, it was pretty hungry. And as a result, I got very many bell peppers as a result. Looking back, I think another point that could have improved the way this grew was that water. Okay, I think a lot of people either overwater or underwater, and for me I could never strike that balance. Was it getting enough water? Was it not getting enough water? It is in complete sunlight, there is no shade covering on top. I am sweating as it is sitting next to this bell pepper, but it does love a lot of heat. And of course, if it's in open sunlight, water gets absorbed a whole lot faster. So I used to water it once a day and assume that was enough. And looking at the bell peppers, I think that may not have been adequate enough for it. You can feel the soil now. I tried to mulch with a bit of leaves, but looking at the soil, it is quite damp. So I think it was okay water-wise. Okay, but just speaking on the water requirements, I think letting it dry out. I watered it once a day, and as I showed you now, the soil was still quite damp. So letting the soil dry out, I think, could have helped, in that it could retain as much oxygen as it needs for the plant. Not derive it from oxygen, and make the roots work a little much. I think I gave it too much water in the sense that the soil is still damp and it's midday now, which the soil is supposed to be drying out a bit, which shows that it might have just a little too much water. So maybe let your soil dry out. I think that could help produce better bell peppers for you. Alright, some people do prefer to plant their bell peppers as transplants. So they get it from a nursery and then they transplant it. I transplanted mine from home, but if you had grown it from the nursery, I think transplant shock, which is something that would have also happened with me, transplanting it from a smaller cup and then into the soil. So transplant shock. I think something I didn't do was use a fertilizer, very light fertilizer such as natural soil, when transplanting it, just to avoid transplant shock and keep it covered until it can adapt to the sun. I think that shock really stresses the plant out of it. I'm sure you can imagine going from shade to sun immediately, or trying to think of another scenario, being evacuated from your home. It is a big adjustment to accept and to accommodate. So I think plants also have a hard time just being evacuated from their small previous home to now soil or your garden. So I think to prevent transport shock, try getting used to the new temperature. Give it some food at first, so fertilize it as it goes in. Something I personally didn't do, and I'm reaping the results of it now. And okay, so let's talk about everything because I'm not sure if I've covered all five. So firstly, water requirements. Secondly, the way you transplant your seedlings. Thirdly, lack of regular fertilizer. They are heavy feeders, so feeding them would help. Um, Point number four is that your bell pepper may have reached its size. I'm not sure if mine has reached its size, but I think this bell pepper may have reached its size. So I think asking it to produce or to grow more than this could be a bit on the asking too much end. So check what your size requirement is for your bell pepper when you are planting it from the seed packets or auction nursery. What is its maximum height, so that you are aware, not expecting too much from your bell pepper, more than it genetically can grow up to. Okay, so it may have reached its size, and this may have been, I'm guessing now, the size that bell peppers could grow to. I don't know. Could be to a lot of other reasons, but this could be also its mature size. Thirdly, is that I didn't, so in winter, this overwintered, sorry, in winter. So I think another point then, point number five, is that you cannot ask your bell pepper to produce more than it actually can. So this pepper didn't rest throughout winter, it was still producing, and I didn't prune it. I didn't give it nitrogen for bigger, better leaves. I'm gonna take out a piece of the leaf so you can see what size it is. Here's the size of the leaf. It's very small for a bell pepper that is supposed to be producing quite heavy fruit. So if you don't feed it heavy nitrogen in the beginning, something I also did wrong, it cannot produce big foliage, and as a result you cannot get big fruit, because food or nutrients do come from your leaves into then your bell peppers. So let your leaves grow. So let your plant grow before you accept it or you allow it to produce fruit. In this case, I actually didn't allow the size of the fruit or the plants mature well enough, um, as in focusing only on foliage before I allowed it to fruit. Already after, like, when it did start producing fruit, I was already receiving fruit and I was happy, neglecting the fact that the tree itself needs to actually grow to a stage where it can handle the fruit it wants to produce. As it'll keep on producing fruit, yes, but you have to prune it and say, no, it's not time yet. Grow first and then you can produce your fruit. And of course, I neglected growth over fruit. So I chose fruit, and as a result, I got small fruit instead of letting it grow out first and then get bigger fruit and more fruit. So you choose your battles, it's completely up to you. But if I would have done it again, I would have removed the plants and let the actual tree grow to the size it's supposed to grow to. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please remember to hit that green button and also subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching.